Okay, so welcome to this video, guys. This is a really big moment in my life, and I'm really happy to make this announcement. It's been a while since I've made a video, as you all know. I deleted I deleted all my videos because of this process when I started writing a book about my experiences and some spiritual practices and other subjects. So this announcement is about my book. So it's finally finished, or it's at a stage where I'm able to publish it. I have a PDF ebook version available, and the download link is in the video description, so you can all download it for free and find out what it's all about. So I'm gonna go through some of the subjects and chapters in this video, so you know what the book is all about. Yeah. Okay. It starts with a few words about me that describes a little bit about my background and what I did before the walk-in, and then there is a chapter that talks a little bit about the book, and then there is a few chapters that describe and talk about different words and phrases like UFO and walk-in and vibrational frequency, a little bit to describe and help the readers to understand what the words mean and why I use them, and because not everybody is familiar with these words, like what they really mean. So then there's a chapter about the actual walk-in event, how I experienced it from a physical body vehicle perspective, point of view, like how it felt when the walk-in came in, and I describe a little bit, I compare it to different things there, and try to make the readers understand how it felt and how I experienced it. Okay, and then there's a chapter about my lifestyle choices and the reasons behind those choices, and one chapter about photo evidence, because after the walk-in I started seeing lots of objects in my photos. At the time I was still a professional photographer, about a year after the walk-in, and I started noticing this craft and object in the skies, and usually saw them when I edited the photos, and there was some really amazing things I saw in the photos, like a cluster of light orbs in the sky, and when I took a series of photos they had moved further from each other, and it was like so obvious, I couldn't deny it, no way. Then there is a chapter about the beautiful light, and that's one of my profound, most amazing experiences in my life, actually. Yeah. Then there is a chapter about the connecting breath. It was a long process, and it's basically a breath that connects me with my higher self and spirit, and that pulls down energy to the physical body and basically recharged me. recharges me. And it was a long process. It took several years. And in the chapter I will go through the process, how it felt and how it evolved and all that, and how it has benefited me, what kind of situations I can use the connecting breath. And it talks about energy work and fasting and normal meditation. And one chapter talks about how I learned to control the energy of the consciousness or walking that came into my body. And basically, I analyzed that and how it works and how it feels. And there is one chapter about a visible energy field or light that I saw around my body one morning. Then there is one chapter about sun activity, and I think this is a very important subject because the sun affects us so much. And the X-ray radiation and everything that the sun puts out through coronal mass ejections and the plasma filaments, and how it feels, because I'm a hypersensitive person. I feel the energy that comes from the sun, especially during these eruptions that happen sometimes during solar flares. Okay, then one chapter talks about a very nice experience. When I was living in the desert in Mexico, there was a light orb that came floating towards me, and I experienced some healing after that or during that experience. Okay, then there is a chapter about an alien language that I spoke one time when I woke up. I forgot that I'm in a human body, apparently. Then there is a chapter about the blackout in the forest, and these blackouts are basically when I become unconscious on a physical level, and my consciousness part leaves the body and the physical body stays behind, and while my consciousness part experiences something else. And these I experience them from the physical point of view as a blackout. And sometimes there is something that I remember or experience before or after these blackouts. And there are many chapters where I describe these experiences that kind of they prove for me that something is going on. And sometimes I'm taken up on a craft, or my astral body is leaving the physical, or only the consciousness part. Yeah, I have lots of experiences like this that I talk about in the book also. Then there is this how would I describe it? Not quite a lucid dream, because this I experienced when I was fully awake. My consciousness just went somewhere else to experience something in a different time-space environment. When I experienced that I was standing in front of a council. Council. Oh, my English is still bad at times. Anyway, read about it in the book. Another blackout. One interesting chapter, I think one of my most interesting experiences is when I was brought back by an ET friend and I was floating, my consciousness part was floating through a portal opening towards my physical body, and I saw this being, non-human being, standing there on the other side of the portal, and I tried to wave my hands and say bye-bye, because I felt lots of love towards that being, and I wanted to say bye-bye. But I didn't realize that I was out of my physical, so I couldn't raise my hand yet. And yeah, interesting chapter. Yeah, then there is one recent experience I had about a year ago, when I was taking, I felt, I'm not sure, maybe it was my whole physical body, because I felt hands that were lifting me up. And I was, yeah, above, I was in the air, the hands were lifting me, and I felt this rapid movement, and I was taking somewhere through a portal. I heard the sound of the portal. It sounded like this, like a little forest stream, except it was more metallic. It was like this, yeah, like running water, but more metallic, and I just felt that, yeah, I went through a portal, and I blacked out then pretty quickly. That was a really amazing experience. Then there is one chapter about, have to keep an eye on the time here. Yeah, I easily lose track of time when I do these things. Missing time in Nepal. Yeah, that was a really interesting experience, because there was a witness to, yeah, I basically went on a rooftop to stargaze, to look at the stars, and I experienced it like this. I went to the roof, and then shortly after that my friend came up to the roof and says, you know, are you still here? Like sounding worried and annoyed, and I was confused because I thought that I had just come up there, and yeah, my friend was standing there. I was just gonna answer something, and then there was a big ship, semi-transparent, round field of energy that shot away, and my friend saw it. I asked her, did you see this? And she said yes, and it was amazing to have this external confirmation for a sighting, because it doesn't happen very often. Yeah, so it was a missing time experience basically, and I was taking a board somewhere on a craft again. That often happens. Light beings in the forest. Yeah, that's interesting, very, very far out stuff. It's about basically, yeah, a certain kind of energy work that I do. It has to do with portals and these light beings and different energies that I've experienced during this energy work. I explain in this chapter, and yeah, it's really, really deep stuff. I know it's hard for people to absorb because it sounds so wild, but still it's something I've experienced, and I continue experiencing it still. Then there is a chapter about meditation. It's a bit short. I mean, I've been meditating for 10 years daily, you know, between 2 and 3 times per day, and it's a big part of my life. I hope this wind doesn't get caught in the mic. Anyway, yeah, the meditation chapter is very compressed and short, and it just describes a few techniques and methods that I use, and there is some suggestions and basically some advice to beginners, and also some interesting things that more advanced people can maybe get help from. But yeah, it's it's a bit short. It's not very detailed and deep, and yeah, I just feel that meditation is a very personal thing for everybody, and I wish that people would find their own ways, and everybody would do it in their own way. And yeah, I have never taken a single meditation class in my life, and I've still experienced the most amazing experiences during meditation. And I feel that it's a natural part of us, and we don't need so much guidance because it's a natural process, and we get the internal guidance, and intuitively we start doing it in a way that's right for us. So it's a bit short chapter, or shorter than I expected. I mean, this book has kind of just manifested. Basically, I just wrote it. It took me 8 months to write the book, and I'm surprised I actually managed to publish anything, because as most of my friends know, I'm not good at commitment and finishing projects. I start many things, but then I usually move to something else because time is short. Human life is so short. There is so much to do. Anyway, I'm happy I can, I finally have something to give people when they want to know about my experiences, and maybe start expanding their consciousness or something. Then there is a chapter about food and fasting, and yeah, it's a big subject, and I think there is more about the fasting and how to do fasting, and lots of advice for people who don't have much experience in fasting, because there is so much to it, stuff that makes it more efficient, and after that there is a chapter about I made it into a separate chapter so that people would see it in the index, or the table of contents when they look for the chapters. It's about the homemade skin cream. I started making my own skin creams at one point because I just couldn't find anything that was exactly as I wanted. I developed my own skin cream and started making it, and I have some. It's very simple actually, and this chapter is about that. If you want to make your own, I have a little bit of dry skin. If I never use soap on my face, never ever. I just wash it with water, and still it gets a little bit dry, and I have to put something, coconut oil, or if I'm in a tropical or subtropical environment like I'm now, or this humid environment, I don't need to put so heavy cream on my face. I just use virgin coconut oil. It's really good for keeping the skin flexible. But in a more dry environment, I need pretty heavy creams that contain beeswax. And then when I travel a lot, I don't want to have any big jars in my backpack. But when I make the cream with some vegetable oils and beeswax, they last a very long time, and I need to use just a little bit that I rub on my hands and put on my face. And basically 100 milliliter jar can last for months, and it's really convenient. And it doesn't have any bad ingredients. I know exactly what's in when I'm inside when I've made it myself. So then there is one chapter, it's a pretty long chapter about the comprehensive healing method. It's a text that I wrote a few years ago, and I modified it a little bit from this my current understanding and perspective, and made small changes, but it's basically on how to change your lifestyle and diet to promote healing and health. It's a pretty powerful chapter, and yeah, people have cured cancer with it and other disease too. Then there is an interesting chapter, it's called Detachment as a Spiritual Practice. And maybe it's not such a known practice within the spiritual community, but it's a very advanced spiritual practice that requires a great understanding about other spiritual practices, and well, you can read about it in the chapter. Detachment is a very nice thing that brings lots of spiritual freedom and helps in life. Then there are a chapter with some out-of-body experiences. That's a really interesting chapter. Every time I read it myself, I get really excited because it's wow. It was amazing to consciously leave the body and experience how it feels to be outside of the body. It's really amazing, you know. It really opens up, changes how you see reality and you know, this whole physical life. When you realize that we are really consciousness, we are not physical beings, we just experience physicality through this body vehicle, and yeah, really interesting stuff, because yeah, I did went out of body, and then I could reproduce this effect in the night twice, and interesting chapter. Yeah, then there is one chapter about this confirmation from a galactic crew. I was at a medium for aura transformation session, and during that interesting things happened. Then there is a chapter about two galactic beings visiting me. I came out of a meditation, and I saw these two non-physical beings standing in front of me, and that I saw through my third eye sensory system. Well, this is an interesting and long chapter about energetic and non-verbal communication. It's basically about telepathy and how it works, and how it's part of our lives. Then there's a chapter about consciousness and the higher self, and one very important chapter about expansion and raising the frequencies. One chapter about compassion, one chapter about forgiveness, and yeah, these are advanced spiritual practices. And forgiveness, for example, people don't realize that it's a very advanced spiritual practice to forgive somebody. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's a challenging process, but we have to do it consciously. We have to choose to do it, and we have to make an effort and really put energy into it, and when it works, it opens up the energetic blockages in our heart center and helps in the process of expansion. Then there is a chapter about the power of the spirit that talks about how powerful we are as spiritual beings, and that sometimes we experience miracles, and we have experience that prove that the spirit is more powerful than the physical, basically. And one chapter talks about fears and phobias. That's an interesting chapter. I talk about my own fears that I faced and healed, and how I experienced it. And then one chapter about the expanded and awakened state. That's interesting. Basically, another word would be spiritual enlightenment, and this talks about that humanity is reaching this state now collectively, a more expanded and awakened state, and that will definitely change everything in the world. Expanded a vision about earth changes, yeah. A precognition at the airport, that was an interesting experience. I basically knew who is gonna come and sit next to me in the airplane during a flight to Mexico, and I just had this really clear knowing, and it was correct. Then there's a chapter about the third eye, the sensory system for the non-physical, and this is still pretty unknown. I'm surprised, but people who have a spiritual awakening, they will also get this sensory system activated, and there's a chakra here and some smaller chakras around the head, and they are part of a sensory system for the non-physical, basically. And when we go into a meditative state and our brain waves change a little bit, this sensory system becomes more active. Also in the evening, and can be activated also, you know, in other situations. If the pineal gland and this chakra is very active, then it doesn't require more than a focus here, and then you feel the pressure and tingling there, so it's, you know, activated. And now when I activated it, I see light, energy. Even this paper has a non-physical aspect to it, and because everything is basically energy. Plants have a life force, animals have a life force, crystals and stones have a life force, but also physical things like these papers, you know, everything is energy, and yeah, consciousness is everywhere, everything is consciousness, and everything happens within the infinite consciousness. Challenges in life. That chapter talks about how we can see challenges as beneficial learning processes, and how we can, with our attitudes, you know, learn to see every situation as an opportunity instead of a punishment or something negative. We can learn to see the good sides and stay neutral in difficult situations. Then there's a chapter about skeptics, believers, and experiencers. And I think this is, it's an interesting subject, because some people are so skeptical still in this world, and it amuses me. It's like, people still choose to live in a limited reality, and they are afraid to expand out of it. And then they get aggressive and annoyed when somebody tries to show them that there is more, and they can, they don't need to be afraid to expand and wake up to a bigger reality. And skeptics, believers, and experiencers, believers basically, they have an inner knowing about something, so they choose to believe. They feel some resonance even without experiences. They just choose to believe. And then there is the experiencers who basically experience something and witness it, and it becomes part of their reality. And they can be sometimes a little bit skeptical about it, but because they experience it, they usually just accept that it's a reality. And it's with many things that are non-physical. In the beginning, it might be difficult to accept it as something real, because there is a contradiction. A big part of the world is still denying these things, and makes it sometimes difficult to accept and integrate something that's outside of the collective consciousness or consensus reality. And skeptics, believers. And then there is a chapter about breaking the cycle, basically stepping out of the comfort zone and starting a process of change. There are some ideas and advice in that concerning that. In that chapter, then there is one chapter about manifestation and the challenges in manifestation, and how the process works, and how we can make it more effective, and how the universe reacts to our thoughts and desires, and what's the difference between a true heart desire and ego desire, and these things. There's a big difference. People try to manifest all kind of weird things, and they don't realize that they don't really want them. They just want to boost their egos or something, and the universe sees everything differently. There is no such concept as money or ownership, really. It's more about experiences. Then there is a quick guide for beginners in also changing lifestyle that supports expansion. One chapter, this is a very short chapter, but it basically looks at the idea or concept of happiness and how it would look like. But basically it's about connecting to spirit. Then there's a long chapter about visions for the future, where I talk about my own ideas and visions, and I like it. I like to visualize and think about how the future could be, and I have many ideas about how humanity could change, and basically detach from the corrupt system and start over from a different, clean slate. Then there is a chapter about sport, fitness and bodybuilding, and I talk about my previous experiences involving sport and different, I was doing boxing and bench press and stuff like that, and then when I experienced the walk-in, I changed my lifestyle so dramatically that I basically, I lost my physical body completely, and I was really thin and weak at one point, because I was fasting so much. I did intensive cleansing, fasting, and I was living on fruit only for a long time and raw vegan diets and trying different things. And one day I realized that I can't continue like this, you know. I can't even carry a heavy jacket on my shoulders because I'm so weak. So I realized that I have to do something, and this is about the process when I was 59 kilos and I'm 180 centimeters tall. So it's pretty skin and bone, 59 kilos. From that, I started building my body again, and now I'm almost 72 kilos with no fat. So it's been I think it was less than 4 years. In less than 4 years I gained how much is it? 12 more than 12 kilos of lean muscle, and it's been a really interesting process. And I talk about my diet during these years, not so much on what kind of exercise I do, but I can say that I do body weight workouts and I use stones sometimes. And I really enjoy it, and I feel like I'm in the best shape in my life now, and I'm 41 years old. That's interesting chapter. Then there's one chapter about numbers, the subconscious and the surrounding reality. And this is about these Ascension codes, you know, 11, 11, 22, 22, and 33, 33, and variations, for example, that I often see 18, 18, and that's basically 99. 1 plus 8, 9, 1 plus 8, 9, so it's 99, and that's the highest master number basically. But this I started decoding the numbers really fast. When I see a number, I don't see the actual number, I see what the real value is. So for example, the 1818 I see as 99 instantaneously. I don't focus on I get it as this confirmation and message. But this chapter talks about when I was after the awakening and walk in, I woke up in the night for a long time, every night when it was exactly 3:33 a.m. I woke up, look at the clock, 3:33, okay, then I started sleeping again. And it happened for, I don't know, weeks or months or a long time. And it became a part of my life. I started seeing the 11, 11 and 22, 22 everywhere, and 33. And it's amazing. And my conclusion is basically that it's a subconscious process. The subconsciousness reacts to those numbers and brings them to the attention of the conscious mind. So when you choose to pick up the phone and look at it exactly when it's 11:11, it happens because the subconsciousness knows it, and it just brings it to the attention of the conscious mind. It's like when somebody is looking at you from behind, you just know it and you turn around. And same way, it's the subconsciousness reacts. Then there is about ascension and death and energetic transformations, and it talks about basically that we shouldn't be afraid to die or leave the physical because we are pure consciousness and we are infinite in nature. And then it talks about this ascension process and how the body has to adapt to these changes, energetic changes on the planet. And it's an interesting chapter. Wow, this is this chapter is really, it's a recent thing. It happened, I think it was in March or April. I met this Italian woman through a friend. She had really strong activation and this awakening, and had a little bit problems in integrating the two realities and absorbing all the energies and different kind of challenges. So we decided to do an energy session with her, and I did a treatment with her, and it was amazing. I mean, it was my first treatment that I did in a few years, and my body had changed so much, so I didn't know what to expect. So I prepared for one full day, and I was eating a little bit less, doing more meditation and balancing out a little bit. So yeah, when I did the treatment, I was surprised about the intensity of the energy. It was much more intense than before, and I felt the energy really strongly. And as I describe in this chapter, it felt like I would have something physical, like a rubber ball or balloon or something in between my hands. Yeah, it was amazing, and that kind of affected me in a way that I realized, okay, now I integrated two realities together. I experienced this non-physical so strongly through the physical. It was amazing, and yeah, it was really healing and helpful for her, also the client. And yeah, I talk about this, basically this session in the chapter, and explained how I experienced it. It was amazing. And I think the last chapter is about that the universe is listening and reacting to us, and when we send out our thoughts, we basically interact with the universe, and we should be careful what we wish for and what we manifest for ourselves, because sometimes it happens really quickly. I mean, times are changing, and things manifest like I explained in this chapter. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes things manifest instantaneously, and it's really interesting to see. But as my conclusion is in the end of this chapter, like if we stay positive and help others, we will receive, and the universe is cooperating with us. So we always get help and support when we need it. We just stay positive. Yeah. Then there is the chapter, the final words, and about donations and stuff like that. But yeah. So this is basically, in a nutshell, there is over 50 chapters in the book. Really interesting subjects, and you can download it for free. And please leave comments, or even if you have something nice to say, you can make a review, and you can ask me questions. Yes, I wanted to be a little bit interactive, and with this book also, and that's why I'm making this video. So if somebody wants to ask something or comment something, it's also interesting for me to get comments from people, and yes. So that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I will probably make some other videos later. So yeah, see you later.